with a video showing you how to disassemble an LG clothes dryer to clean it or repair it. This specific LG machine is an LG DLE2512W, but these same instructions will work with several other LG models. First thing you want to do is to make sure that your machine is unplugged. Very important. Then disconnect the vent hose going to the outside by unscrewing the clamp screw and loosening the vent hose. Then I suggest moving the machine into an open area. We will be removing the drum, so you'll need plenty of space for parts and such. I like to remove the vent hose completely by disconnecting it from the machine itself. Just unscrew the clamp screw and remove the hose. This will enable us to clean it really well later. Now we're going to remove the top panel of the machine. There are 3 screws in the back of the machine. Just remove them like you see here. This will enable you to slide the top panel back and lift it off. Next we want to remove the control panel. First there are 2 screws that we need to unscrew. Next, to remove the control panel, we have to disconnect some wires. As always with wires, I like to take a picture before disconnecting. This way I have something to refer back to if I have any question when I'm rewiring. LG's made it nice and easy because they've color-coded everything, but you can never be too safe. So go ahead and remove the 4 connections. Then to actually remove the control panel, it has some tabs that you have to lift up on. It takes a little bit of force, but just lift up and the front panel will come off. Next we want to remove the door. It has 2 simple screws. Unscrew the screws. Careful, the door is kind of heavy, so when you're removing the last screw, just make sure you're holding the door. Now we want to remove the front panel. We have 6 screws to remove, 2 lower and 4 upper. Just remove those screws. Here are the 2 lower ones. And here are the 4 upper ones. Now you should be able to just lift slightly out on the front panel. There is a connection that you need to undo. Just disconnect that wiring connection and it should be free. So that wire we just disconnected, you want to pull it through the frame and get it out of the way for the next step. Next there's a top bracket there we're removing. It has 4 screws. Just remove the 4 screws. With the 4 screws removed, you should be able to just lift up and out on the bracket. Before we can proceed, there's another wiring connection for a light you need to remove. Next, we will be removing the panel that holds the drum in place. There are 4 screws to remove. Remove all 4. Before removing that panel, there's 1 more wire to disconnect down at the bottom right. So you should be able to remove that panel by lifting up and out, and you might need to lift up slightly on the drum itself to disengage the drum from the wheels on the panel. So the drum has a belt that drives the drum turning. Next we need to remove the belt from the motor and the pulley system. There's a tensioner pulley that you can lift up on, which gives you some slack on the belt itself, and you can remove the belt from the motor and the pulley. Now using the belt itself, you should just be able to lift the drum out of the casing and set it aside. You can see that the inside of this dryer was not very dirty compared to other dryers I've seen. But you can see the different parts. The motor to the left, which drives the drum and the squirrel cage. You see the heating element on the right side and the exhaust chute down the middle. Dryers are actually pretty simple machines. Because our whole point in taking this dryer apart was to clean it, we saw a little bit of lint that was in the squirrel cage, so we're going to remove the front cover to get rid of that lint. So here's some different shots of us cleaning the dryer with a vacuum cleaner, just trying to get as much lint up as possible. It's time to put the dryer back together, but before to do, I want to talk about the belt. The belt has two sides, one side that's smooth and printed, and one side that has ridges. Just make sure the side that has ridges is down, touching the drum itself. Using the belt to lift, just lift the drum and place it back in the casing. Make sure the drum is on the wheels that are on the back panel. So get the belt attached to the motor again. Put a hand on either side of the drum. Put the belt under the tensioner pulley. Pull the tensioner pulley up, and then attach the belt to the motor. It's a good idea at this point just to spin the drum by hand. Make sure that the squirrel cage is spinning as you do it. Now just reattach the front panel to the squirrel cage and the two screws. Reattach the front panel of the drum. I found this to be the hardest part of the entire process. We didn't get a good shot of it because it took both of us to hold the machine in place while I placed the panel on. It has the 4 tabs that hold the panel in place, and they must fit in the tabs and slide down. Once you get it in place, just put the 4 screws back in place. Now you can reconnect the wire at the bottom right that we disconnected earlier. You can reconnect the wire going to the light and then put the other wire through the clamps and position it for the next step, which is to attach the top bracket that we took off earlier. It has a tab on each side which goes in and slides down into place, and it has 4 screws to screw in. You have to position that wire again, just slip it into that space between the panel and the drum to position it for the next step, which is to replace that front panel. It has 2 metal guides at the bottom. Just place the panel in those guides and attach the wire that we've been positioning, and then just push the panel into place. Then attach the 6 screws to secure the panel. 4 upper ones and 2 lower ones. We attach the 2 screws that hold the door in place. We chose not to do it, but if you wanted to, you could reverse the way the door opens by just reversing these two pieces. Next, you want to just pop your control panel back in place of those tabs that we took off earlier, and then put your two screws back in place. Reconnect the 4 wiring harnesses. Make sure the colors match when you're plugging them back in. And finally, just reapply the top panel and the 3 screws that secure it.
Go.
Next, I like to just clean up the vent hose, clean out any excess lint that's in it.
Okay, go ahead.
Also, vacuum out the exhaust chute, clean out any excess lint in that. Reattach the vent hose to the dryer itself by tightening the clamp. Reattach the hose to the outside vent by tightening that clamp. Plug the dryer back in. Then just give the dryer a test run. Make sure it seems like it's drying and the drum is spinning okay. That should be it. That concludes this video. I hope it was helpful. For more videos like this, visit my website